Hey, good evening. Good evening, everybody. We hope that you guys, your week has gotten off to a great start. It is Monday. Yes, happy Monday to all of you out there. And if you've been tuning in, we've been doing sort of a mini series here. We are closing in on registration for our mission trip to Botswana in August of 2024. We also have this year you have the ability to enroll in the certification course without having to actually do the trip. So if you do the trip, you're going to get the course anyway. But if you decide not the trip this year, but definitely want to get certified, then there's that option too. We're going to talk about that more later. Listen, my name is Lexi Johnson. I am an international speaker. I am Chief Servant Officer of Money Mastery for Her Missions, where we specialize in short-term international mission trips. We act cooperatively, give extravagantly, meet the needs of the people. And why are we doing this? We're doing this so that we can win souls and make disciples. That's what it's all about. I'm super excited tonight because my co-lead is here. Elder Joan T. Randall is in the house. Hey, Elder, why don't you let the people know what's going on? Hey, it's live. Don't worry, girl. We both got stuff going on.
That was easy. Okay. Yeah. But Pastor Lexi, I am so excited to be here with you this evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to join. My name is Joan T. Randall. I'm the founder of Victorious You Press. I'm a speaker, author, publisher, coach. I'm also the women's director for I Believe God Ministry International. And my purpose is to impact lives through the power of the pen and allow people to recognize their gifts and their skills and their talents and their stories and how they can use their stories to leverage the marketplace, right? So they can build multiple streams of income, create a legacy, and leave something for the next generation. So that's what we do at Victorious You Press.
Yes, and you all do it so well. You do it so well.
Thank you.
You all, we've been doing this series. We come before you just for about 20 minutes. We started out, we talked about what is missions, what is a missionary. We talked about spiritual warfare and missions. We've talked about spiritual gifts and missions. We've talked about, something I can't even remember what I talked about last night. But anyway, y'all, we've been talking about all this stuff in missions. Okay. All right. But tonight, we're talking about servant leadership and missions, And so I'm going to turn this over to Elder Joan. In fact, she's going to be on the screen. I'm going to
be by myself. I said, I'm going to be by myself.
Yes, she's going to be by herself. She got this, y'all. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Elder Joan, and I'll see.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pastor Lexi. So tonight we're going to talk about servant leadership and the role it plays in missions, right? As we know that the word servant means a leader in the service of another, right? So when you are serving, the word servant, and when we look at how Jesus role model his his life while he was on earth. What he did was serve. And so that's kind of the characteristics that the missionaries should have, right? Because they are serving wherever they go. If it's local, if it's right in their home, if it's overseas, you're in the serving of another. So that's the role. And then when we look at the word leader, right, we're talking about a person or a thing that leads, right? Guide, person who's a guide, who's a direction, who is directing, a person who guides or inspires others. So that's what a leader is. Now, when you put it all together, a servant leader is someone who serves and leads, right? So it comes together, a person who serves and lead by example. And when we go anywhere, whether we do missions right at home or we do missions outside of our country, there is the need. It is necessary that we serve and we lead. Right? We make decisions. I know that one of these nights, Pastor Lexi talked about the characteristics of missionaries and what that looks like, right? And so now we're just taking it up a notch and talking about the servant leadership and how you can serve and lead by example. Now, let's look at the characteristics of a servant leader, right? And I have 7 of them. Number 1, listens, right? A person who listens, right? Not a person who if you're talking, they're trying to think about what's the next thing they're going to say, right? A person who listens, that ties in, I think, with humility. Also appreciates value, right? Value for the simple things, value for what others have, not lording themselves, not coming off as if they are better than anybody else. So appreciates value, humility, right? And some of these characteristics is the same thing for missions, right? Same thing for servant leadership. It is the characteristics of Christ. Put others first, right? Whether you're going in the mission field, no matter where you are going from a missionary perspective, you are putting others first because you are going there to serve. Trust and gives trust, right? So you have to be able to trust those that you are going to serve and those that are around you, your group, your colleagues, your colleagues. Yes, here, take a little bit of this. I'm so sorry. My grandson is here and he didn't want anything until I go live. He's asking, where the waters are downstairs, Izzy? Take one out of that, okay? Thank you so much. I'm sorry about that, guys. But trust gives trust. The other one is team mentality, right? How cohesive is the team? And if everybody is working together, everybody being on the same page, right? Because once there's a ripple or a ruffle in the leadership or the team spirit, things can tend to go slightly off track, right? Also, there's another thing that happens sometimes in these mission trips, and that's why it's so important for you to have the characteristics and know about this serving and leading, is that there tends to sometimes be right? Be cliquish. You have 2 or 3 people always being with those 2 or 3 people, and then you have another group over here. So you have to understand that as a team, everyone needs to be on the same page and everyone do things as a team. And then sacrifice, right? Mission is a sacrifice, right? Because you're sacrificing a family, maybe you're sacrificing your job, maybe time, money, all of that, right? To leave everything that you know at home and to go to serve, to go out, right? Because basically that is what we're supposed to do. And Pastor Lexi talk about it. Go make disciples, right? So you're going, so you're leaving. When you're leaving things behind, that is usually a sacrifice. So there are 2 extremes to servant leadership, right? One is the person who knows everything, but does nothing to reproduce themselves. And then the other one is the person who wants to spread the knowledge of the truth to others, but ignores it in their own lives. And we see that all the time, right? We see the person who theologically can speak and spin like words from the Bible and text and all of that, but they really don't apply. They do nothing to reproduce themselves. So they're not planting the seeds. They're not harvesting the seeds. They're not stewarding the seeds. They're not stewarding the gifts. They can speak, but they're not stewarding the gifts, right? And then on the other hand, you have the person who wants to spread the knowledge of the truth to others. Do as I say, but don't do as I do. They ignore it in their own lives. So we shouldn't fall in any of those extremes, right? As servant leadership, role modeling the characteristics of Christ, we should stay away from those two extremes completely and avoid that, right? So there's some things that as servant leaders happens when you get a group of people together to do certain things, from a mission perspective or coming together. There are things that happen all the time. So I want to briefly touch on some of those tests for servant leaders. This happens so often, right? When you come together to do something that upholds and sheds light on the goodness of Christ. When you make it intentional to do things that upholds Christ, that shows the goodness of God and his kindness and his life and his light, there's always a fight. It's a duality, right? It's like everything you're doing to serve on behalf of God, because we are his hands and feet and mouth on the earth, right? And as you are serving, there's always this fight. There's always these tests. There's always these attacks. And I think as a servant leader, especially when it comes onto mission, you have to know that. Going in, you have to know there is going to be probably some type of a ripple, some type of a wave, some type of a, discourse that is happening, right? So understanding that is very important. So I want to touch on some of the things that can happen that test the servant leadership. And I'm going to go through these fast because there's 15 of them, and I want to go through them fast. A test of time. So testing of the time is knowing that God is not on a timetable, right? And knowing that God is not on a timetable. So if you decide that this is something that I want to do, then you are going to just have to acquiesce and just go with the flow, right? Because that shows character and it shows faith. It helps us grow in faith. Then Abraham is a great example of that. And then there is testing of the word, right? Because you cannot rely on your own resources, but on God's word. And sometimes we have people out here that like to eisegete and come up with their own idea of what the words say because they learned it from they were kids and, things like that. But you have to trust and believe and ask for revelation, which is so you'll be tested on the word of God, right? And Joseph is an example of that. And then you have testing of character. Right? Who are you at the core of your being, and how are you showing up as you're in the mission field, right? Sometimes we allow our eyes to make us lustful, right? And prideful because we may feel as if we have a PhD or we have a master's degree or we're a pastor or we're a bishop or we're an evangelist or we're a this or we're a that. And so we feel as if we are at a higher level than the person that don't, but we can't be that way, right? God places us in situation and expects us to be humble. And as a servant, you can think about the man-made things that you get. You can think about those man-made things that were given to you. I mean, yes, I know the PhD and all of that stuff is great. It's fantastic. You work hard for it. You deserve it. But when it comes on to serving, you got to leave that alone, right? So testing of character will happen. And then there's the testing of motivation, right? Being exposed to forces that affects decision making, right? Are you serving just for show or are you serving for what you can get? Listen, that happens all the time. Are you serving just for show? Test of motivation. I'm motivated, right? The world knows I'm going on a mission trip. I'm going to Africa. I'm going to Kenya. I'm going to Ghana. And everybody knows I'm going and I'm going to let the world know. And I want the pictures to show that I was there. And I want to be in everything. And I want to show what I've been doing. Got to be careful of the motivation, right? Because you have to deep dive into your inner self to see, what is my reason for this? What is my motive? What is the motive behind me going, right? And then testing of a servant, right? Willing to do menial tasks, willing to be able to do the things that you go to some of these countries and see them do it as well, right? Serve based on the need of the leader, and also be able to understand what the leader is requiring and asking of us, and not feeling like we're too big to do it. That's why it's called servant leadership. Testing of the wilderness. The wilderness is a dry, desolate place. And there are times in these situations when we're getting ready to go serve people that we start to look at ourselves and wonder if we're qualified to do it. Are we qualified, right? Do we have the wisdom? Do we have the knowledge? Do we have the understanding? Do we have the discernment to go and do this exactly the way God wants us to do it? And sometimes, because we are in this mode where we feel like we're in this dry season, there's nothing being reproduced. So we've got to be careful. We've got to be careful because, there are seasons, right? But you can't always sit in this dry season and think that there's nothing in me to reproduce, right? So some of those tests will come to you. You'll feel as if you're not qualified, but you are. And then we'll have things like testing of misunderstanding, testing of patience, testing of frustration, testing of discouragement, testing of warfare. Woo! Pastor Lexi talked about that not too long ago. Testing of self-will, testing of vision. The vision is not yours, right? If you're not leading, if you're not the host, if you're not the person that is carrying out the mission trip, it's not your vision. So you've got to be careful as to how you, your posture, right? And your positioning as you are serving, right? It's no chit-chatting behind each other back. Oh, why did she do this way? And why is this happening? Because I'm telling you, that's how the enemy sneaks into the very fabric of this thing that you're doing for the good of others, right? Testing of usage. And this just means like, you cannot find an opportunity to exercise the ministry God placed in you. So there are so many times when mission trips happen and there's some people that just hide, shy away. They don't want to say anything. They don't want to participate in anything. They don't want to contribute. They don't want to use the gifts and talents that God has given them to participate. So we got to be careful with that too. And then testing of promotion. And this one is really, it's key, right? Because this just means that sometimes we have people who want to be recognized for what they do. Testing of promotion, right? And you'll hear them say, oh, well, this is what I do. And you know what? Next year, I'm going to run my own mission trip because I know what it is to do. And if I'm doing it, I'm going to do it differently, right? All of those things are tests. Test for servant leaders, right? It's just the same way the enemy tested Jesus when he was in 40 days and 40 nights in the desert. He's testing him with the very things that he knows people may think about, right? So you've got to be careful and develop humility and make sure that you're waiting for the right time. It's not about promoting yourself. This is not your project, right? If you're just a part of the group. Now, if you're leading, then understanding who needs to go up front or who needs to do A, B, C, or D, right? And that's the most important thing about the person, the host that's leading the trip, is that she, because of the training and because of spending time with each of the missionary, understands the gifting that they have inside and places them accordingly. So if somebody is there who knows how to pray and is really a prayer warrior, she or that person may be over the prayer ministry. If somebody else, is great with putting the agenda together and organizing all of the different events, then maybe that leader will say, well, this is where you belong, but allow the leader to lead from her from her perspective, and not you inserting yourself because you feel like you've done enough and you need to be promoted or recognized. And that's that is it, right? Basically, just in a nutshell. Now, normally, I heard Pastor Lexi talk to you earlier about this is a whole course, right? This is an entire course. Even this part about the servant leadership training, this is like a 2-hour course, because for each test of the servant leadership, there is a character in the Bible that fits that bill. And so we would go through the scriptures, we would read the scripture, then we would identify who in the Bible fit that mold, right? The test for servant leadership. And then there's a discussion. So this is like a 2-hour training just on the servant leadership. So wherever you are today, if mission is something that God has laid on your heart and you're wondering, I don't know how to go about it. Where do I go? What do I do? How do I prepare myself, my presence, my posture, being able to go and lead and serve and be the hand and feet of Yeshua, then you want to connect with MM4H, because Pastor Lexi, this is her thing. This is her thing. This is one of her gifts that God has given her. And she is a missionary at heart. She's an evangelist at heart. She's a pastor at heart. And she has the gift of teaching. So I've learned so much just by going to Kenya with her last year. And I am so excited that she gave me the opportunity to do this part of the training. And so I hope that you walked away with some nuggets tonight. And if you're ready to make this trip to Botswana, the link is in the chat. Just click on it and you'll get all the information for August. Pastor Lexi, I think I'm done, sis.
Hey, thank you so much. That was absolutely awesome. That was so awesome. And yes, you guys, listen, you hear all that stuff that Elder Joan just talked about? Like literally all of those 15 things that she talked about, all of those things happened.
Yes.
While we were
while we were there. All of it happened. Everyone. Oh my God.
Right. And it's not even just the servant leadership, but even other aspects of what we train on. People come like, oh my gosh, you trained us on this. This is what you prepared us for this. Yes. So listen, even if you have never done this before, but you feel like the Lord is calling you to make impact in this way, to travel, to do short-term international mission work, you feel that the Lord is calling you to do so, you don't have to worry. There's no fear, because we're going to make sure that you are prepared. We're going to make sure that you are ready as much as possible, right? There are some things that you just, you got to experience. Right. But many other things that we can definitely prepare you for, right? So if you're ready to make impact on communities around the world, hey, Apostle, good to see you. We want you to join us at MM4H Missions. We train, it's intense, but we also have fun. Yes. Oh, yes. We also have fun, and we really enjoy the work that we are doing. So you can click on the link that was put in the chat. It is bit.ly / MM4H Missions. Okay. Now, some of you are out there watching, and if you haven't shared this yet, please share it. Some of you are out there watching, and for a fact, nope, you have not been called to this type of missions, because we all have a mission.
Yeah.
I want to be clear about that. We all have a mission. Absolutely. But you have not been, for a fact that you've not been called to this type of mission in terms of going and serving, or even taking the certification course, and you're wondering how else can you support. We certainly need your prayers. That's always wonderful to pray. We do have a intercession team that has been praying for us in this trip that we're going on in August. They've been praying since December. And so we're grateful for that. And so you can pray wherever you are for our teams. And then you can also support us financially. right? And no dollar amount is too small, because your dollars will go far. In these countries that we serve in Africa, your dollars will go far. So there is the link there on the screen. I'm also going to take a moment and put it in the comments for you all. Now, y'all know I can't do two things at once. So I'm going to type. There you go. So that's the link where you can donate. Again, no dollar amount is too small. Elder Joan, I want to thank you so much.
Yay!
For
You're
coming
welcome.
and sharing
Absolutely.
about this. I was like, I absolutely want her to come and do this, because and when she teaches it in the class, oh my goodness, y'all gotta be there. Okay, come on, enroll. Okay, when you click that link, MM4H Missions, that link, it's going to you're going to put in your name and your email address. You will receive information. You're going to get information on both the trip and the course and how to proceed from there. Okay. But yeah, I mean, the classes, I'm telling you, you'd be a new person just by taking the class. And if you do the trip too, you're really gonna come back
Oh,
a
yes.
different person. Anything else you want to say?
Um, our apostle just say both of the ladies are amazing teachers. Thank you, Apostle.
Thank
Our apostle
you.
always cheering us on. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Apostle, for your support always. So that's all that we have for you all. The deadline is the 29th. It is quickly approaching. Okay, so click that link. Don't wait. We only have 4 slots for the trip, so don't hesitate. Right? You know if God is speaking to you. Click the link, get the information, and then take those next steps so that you can join us. Okay, we simply would just love to have you.
All
We'll
right.
be
I
back.
love it.
We'll be back tomorrow night, 6 p.m. with another topic, okay, regarding missions. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.